here today with Ellen Powell and Erica Baker of Project Include, which is a nonprofit organization geared toward increasing diversity and inclusion in the tech industry. We've been talking about diversity and inclusion in tech, but systemic racism is a big part of that. In the last couple of days, 2 Black people have been killed by the police. How does Project Include take that into account when talking with tech leaders?
Well, the thing that we saw happen when we first started working on Project Include, when we first released, was that a lot of companies were coming to us asking about women. Like, they just completely ignored the fact that there was anything to do with race in Project Include, and just like, we want it to be all about women. And so we put up a post that was like, no, it's not about women, this is about race too. And I think it's important for us to continue to be vocal and intentional about that specific thing, that race is a big deal that we need to be focusing on. And anytime you see the murder of a Black person become popular, become prominent,
right?
You see a split in like the discussions, right? People who are Black or our allies are talking over here about that murder and what it means for our society and what it means for people of color, Black people. And over here, you see the rest of tech continuing talking about silly, inane stuff that matters not, right? And so we need to figure out a way to get these people aware. And I'm not sure what that looks like. There were bombings overseas, and Sundar Pichai tweeted a thing about how we support Muslims and what have you, and that was great. Like Google supporting way to speak up.
Yeah. But
we don't see that when it comes to Black people in the United States, right? Like 2 videos of 2 Black men being brutally murdered, back to back, like one day after the other.
Right.
On video.
On video, and nothing, silence, nothing from Mark Benioff, nothing from Sundar Pichai, very quiet leaders in tech, Mark Andreessen talking about Brexit, and it's like, yeah, that's a big deal, but things are happening at home, right? And so we need to figure out a way to get those people to give a shit.
Yeah. It's amazing because it helps their platform so much, right? So all of this discussion is happening on Twitter, it's happening on Facebook, and it's driving traffic, and it's making a difference for their businesses, but yet they don't know how to address these issues in their companies because the same thing that's happening on their platforms is happening in their companies.
Exactly.
Right.
And it's also, it's great that we have these technologies so people can share, and that the cell phone is making such a difference in being able to record the video for these different horrific events. But how do we get that into the interactions of people?
Well, I feel like there's some level of like, oh, this is normal. Right?
Yeah.
Like police murdering Black people is, standard.
Yeah,
fare.
People are becoming a bit desensitized.
Yeah, or they have already been desensitized, right?
Yeah.
Like they just like, oh, this is what happens here, and so I don't need to speak up about it. I don't need to raise my voice, and we need to, let them know that it's not okay in some way. And I'm still thinking about ways to do that, right? Like I can tweet about it, I can say things on Twitter, but there needs to be more.
Maybe it might help to personalize it a bit for these tech CEOs, like saying okay, you care about diversity efforts, you're wanting to hire more people of color. Well, caring about diversity efforts, you're wanting to hire more people of color, or at least you say you do, and you're also saying that you want to work on inclusion. A part of that is, making sure that people are staying alive and not losing their lives. So,
and being aware.
That could be one of your recent hires or something.
Exactly. People seem to think that, cops only shoot the people who are doing bad things. And it's like, no, this guy had no criminal record. He was working at a school cafeteria, and he was reaching for his wallet as instructed and got shot anyway.
And I think part of the problem is they can't relate to this experience. So I don't know any Black people that this has happened to. It's never going to happen to me, so I'm not really worried about it. But when it comes to women, going back to Erica's earlier point, I have a daughter, I feel really bad. I have 2 daughters, I'm worried, I want them to be in tech. So that becomes like a much more pressing, urgent issue, one that they can relate to. And when they see other women, they can relate to that woman being their daughter, so they want them to succeed. But when it comes to people of color, it's a lot harder. And that connection just isn't there. So the urgent need to fix the problem doesn't exist.
Right. Is there any hope? Are there any organizations working on fixing this?
Be a little bit biased, but I'm optimistic about Slack. We are doing a lot more tangible things to address diversity and inclusion within our company. Talk about that, a little, talk about the specifics of that a little later, but I'm hopeful about what we're doing there. I'm hopeful about Twitter, which is, a little bit not expected from people. People seem to think it's Twitter. Yeah, but having talked to people within Twitter, and having these off-the-record conversations that they talking about things they can't say publicly,
Right.
I'm really hopeful about what they're doing. I think that Jack is really focused on making sure that his workforce starts to reflect his platform. But like I said before, hard to turn a tanker, so we're not going to see a lot of improvements really quickly.
I'm excited about the 10 CEOs that we have in Project Include, because they've now made the statement that they want to address diversity and inclusivity in their companies, and they are willing to, participate in this effort, and they're willing to, drive in metrics and to see what they can do in a short amount of time. So this, this commitment from the CEO level, and I really do think it only comes from the CEO level, coming from Stuart, coming from Jack, coming from Jeff at Twilio, and all these other CEOs, is what is going to drive change in the companies. Like I saw that at Reddit, as soon as I left, things changed dramatically.
Yeah.
And it's not until the CEO is really focused on this issue and prioritizes it that you're going to solve these hard problems and have the hard conversations throughout the company that get resolved in the right way.
Right. Well, thanks so much for joining me here today.
Thank you for having us.